and Talk 101.3 The Buzz, where our programs are always brought to you by L&B Appliance on Durkee Road, where they're large enough to know you, just small enough to know you, and large enough to service you. I'd like to welcome Coach Floyd back to our show. This is our, what, 7th show of the year, I guess it is.
Yeah, 8th game, so yeah, 7th show.
Boy, I'm telling you what, things just keep flying by there. Coach, first thing out of your mouth Friday night in the post-game interview was, what a difference a week makes. And boy, we had some opportunities at Bearden we couldn't cash in on, and they did. Ooltewah, I don't think we missed hardly any opportunities at all. And it's a different team, I know, and no disrespect to Ooltewah, but played really, really well, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, and that was the thing at Bearden is we just never, we couldn't get a first down. Yeah. So it's hard to open things up and get in a groove. But at Ooltewah, we were able to do that, and we executed. And that felt like that's the first game that we executed for 4 quarters. Every other game this year, we had some problems, whether, at different points in the game. We played good first half, we played good second half, we played bad first half. And Ooltewah, you really felt like, the whole game we executed. So hopefully we're hitting our groove. Like you said, Ooltewah is obviously struggling right now. It's like Bill Parcells says, you are what your record says you are.
That's right.
And they're struggling.
Yeah.
And we've been there, so I understand. And and fortunately we're 6-1 at this point, and we're in the meat of our schedule, and it's really going to get tougher this week. And that's because of the kids on the field. There's a big personnel difference in between Ooltewah and Farragut. Like you said, no disrespect, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And we'll have our hands full. But it was nice to see us execute and do what we can control, and control what we can control against Ooltewah.
45 points you put on the scoreboard, and I think you scored the first 7 possessions. You kept scoring. We just kept driving, including one of them is 99 yards even there. We played in front of the chains, not behind them like we had been playing there. Had 4 penalties, and none of those penalties affected us. We had one on the fumble recovery that we scored, but then we come back and took it down, and that's when Grant kicked that 42-yard field goal, which is 3rd best all time for Bradley. Had no turnovers. We had 8 different receivers catch passes. 5 different guys scored in first. Everything was coming together for us. We played really, really good. Offensively, I don't know how much better we could play. He played a lot of reserve second half. Antonio Butts come in and played really good at running back position. And you're down, really, Simon Mullis, who had a really good night running. He's sort of your 4th, we lost Jackson Wilson. We lost Jalon Terry. Landon Scott had been running some, broke his femur, so they're out.
Yeah.
So here's Simon Mullis, who had a great thing going last year till he got hurt. He seems like he's got his confidence back now, and he's playing hard, running hard, and he's full speed ahead now.
And last year him and Jackson were our 1-2 punch because Jay Allen was playing receiver. So and Simon had, we had no problem giving him the ball last year, and then he had the ankle injury, and if we're being honest, he's really struggled mentally with getting over that hurdle of, am I going to hurt it again?
I would too, I guess.
Yeah, it was a bad injury, and so really didn't know coming into the season if he was going to be able to help us, just because I didn't want to put him out there, but. He's overcame that now, and he actually said, Friday at one time, Coach Burkhart says, well, you okay? And he says, yeah, I got hit on it, it's fine. So that has to happen for him to play. And he is, I guess, technically our 4th-string running back, but we don't look at him like that.
Right.
Because we consider him still a starter. Because he was a starter last year on defense. And like I said, ran the ball a whole lot last year. So we're fortunate that if some guys go down, we're deep at some positions, and we don't feel like there's any drop-off, really. We have no problem with handling it to any of those guys. But Jay Allen should be back this week, so him and Simon both will tilt the rock a little bit.
Well, that'd be good. And you can't have enough depth, as we've seen over and over and over. And like you always say, it's the next man up mentality. And, boy, you've had some guys really come through. Your defense played really well Friday night. I thought, my goodness.
Yeah. You
pitch a shutout. Anytime you pitch a shutout, I don't care who it is. And the offense only had to punt 1 time, and that's a 45-yarder by Schuyler. Good grief. He stepped in there when Jackson got hurt and just kept doing his thing. But pitched the shutout, and we kept Ooltewah bottled up in their end of the field most of the night there. And A.J. Williams, Tito Williams, Gage Anderson, all those guys. I really don't want to start naming names, but I named those because I kept calling their name on the radio over and over and over. Held Ooltewah 74 yards on 23 carries. That's a pretty strong night on the defense, and 46 yards passing on 8 completions. So no matter what level you're playing at, that you can't hardly beat the defensive.
On the first drive, they had some success because you never know what they're going to come out in. They're game planning too, so they hadn't shown that a whole lot what they were doing, and so we had to adjust a little bit, and our kids did, and I knew 22, their running back, he's good, and I told them, he's going to make some guys miss. Next guy's got to get to the ball really quick. And at first, he's fresh and we're missing some tackles. I said, we just got to hit him for 4 quarters. And fortunately, we changed a little bit the way we lined up defensively, and our guys got to the ball. We talk about it all the time defensively. There's 3 things you got to do. The first thing is alignment. If you don't line up correctly, you're not going to be successful. The second thing is you got to, along with alignment, you got to communicate. So everybody's communicating as long as lined up right. So alignment, assignment, which means do your job, and then pursuit, get to the ball. And it's not like there's any secret. Everybody does that in football, but our kids really, I think they're starting to take it to heart. I mean, and it's starting to, they're starting to trust, okay, this is why I line up this way. All right, if I do my job and my teammate does their job, then we trust each other, and now we have a chance to be successful. So we'll need to continue to do those things.
And they don't seem to care who gets the credit for the
I think that's the really big thing, and I've coached obviously a while now, and you have certain teams, certain people are selfish. I don't feel like people on this team they're worried about the team. Like you can take Marcus Gorey, and obviously he's a big recruit. Well, he doesn't play a lot of offense. He never pouts. He never complains. Now he'll play defense in college, but he just does his job, and he's giving people 5 if somebody else scores on offense. He's not over there complaining that he's not getting the ball every time. We have a lot of guys that deserve the ball. We understand that it's hard. We got 1 ball.
Yeah.
But I really do feel like our guys are unselfish, and they don't really care who gets the credit. They all want stats. They should. But I feel like that they trust each other, they believe each other, and they're for each other, and that's the biggest thing. And that's what makes coaching fun. We've had some years where it's just not fun as a coach. This group is fun to coach. Now, does that mean we'll win every game? I don't know, but they are fun to coach.
Well, and you've talked multiple times too. So these kids come to practice. They're on time at practice. They want to practice. They're all into practice, and boy, that's another thing for you don't have to worry about, because I know in past you got kids drag in late to practice. Hey coach, when's practice over? That kind of thing, and it's just a whole different feel right now.
Yeah, it's different when you come with the right mentality. Yeah. They're coming to get better, and I got to say, I mean, it's not been many years that we've had it that way, and there's not been many kids, because they do buy in. And that's our philosophy, and that's what I told them. That's what this program is built on, is each other. And, it's no fun to have individual success. Who are you celebrating with? You don't want to celebrate by yourself, so we want to celebrate with each other. And it is a fun group.
Well, I was talking to Coach Manning, our JV game this week, and I was working on that sideline where he was at and talked to him several times. And he said, well, we're young right now. He said, we played all freshmen in the JV game, played a lot of sophomores Friday night. And he said, it's obvious that we don't have the program that Bradley does. And I said, well, hang in there, because Damon came in, we were 1-9 the year before. I said, we've been in the playoffs 12 straight years. So he said, if I could only do what Damon's accomplished, I'd be happy with that.
Well, and it's not me.
I know,
I understand I'm a small part of it. I do. And I've said this, I get way too much credit and probably too much blame if we're being honest. But I think of people like Scott Ford, who's been with me from the beginning. Yeah. And there's so many people along the line. Brian, the Copeland family, and Brian's still there with us, and he has no kids playing. I mean, there's so many people that are behind the scenes. Randy Hedrick, who's still helping us set up sidelines and taking up parking, and Henley's done playing. He's been done playing for 4 years.
Jimmy Meeks and all that.
I mean, I shouldn't start naming people like you said earlier with players, because there's so many people that are responsible for this, and obviously the players deserve the credit. They're the ones that win the games. But I did tell Goose the same thing after the JV game. Man, we've been there. I understand you're frustrated. Just hang in there, and there'll be better days. He's doing the right stuff, and playing those young people will pay off in the future.
He was very positive about last night, even in defeat there. But let's take a break right now for LB Appliance. We'll be back in just a couple of moments here on The Buzz, Talk 101.3. We'll continue with our show with Coach Damon Floyd, and we'll look at that big game Friday night with the Farragut Admirals. Back here at Bradley Central on our Coach's Show, Damon and Floyd, brought to you by LB Appliance out there on Durkee Road. Well, Coach, we remember last year, we are upside down big time against Farragut, 3-16, and you got 2 of those in the last 2 seasons. 2 years ago, you broke that long losing streak to them, and then we beat them last year at their place by 3 points. Well, they returned the favor, beat us by 3 points at our place in the playoffs when it really was on the line. It mattered there. The game before that was a 3-point game 2 years ago. So it's always seemed like a close game, and you said over and over, it's going to come down to penalties and mistakes or turnovers, whatever, probably decide this game because these 2 teams are evenly matched from all aspects, it seems to be. And
I hope. They're talented, and every year we've played them, they've been talented. They've got players that go to multiple Division I schools, and they're coached really well. And probably as much respect for another program as I do as Eddie Courtney, who's, I don't know how many years he's been there, but he's been there a while. 27. But they do it the right way. They have class. They play hard. They're just a really good program in all aspects. But, the couple of those years, we do talk about penalties and turn the ball over. There's a couple times we didn't have many penalties. We didn't turn the ball over, and we still lost. And that tells you what kind of team they are. They do things the right way, and we know that going in. We hope it's a close game in the fourth quarter and have a chance to win, because if not, their offense is as good as offenses I've seen ever on executing. They just throw and catch really well. If you don't line up correct, they're very multiple, so they'll formation you a lot. If you don't line up correctly, they're going to gap you. So that takes a lot of communication on our guys' part of making sure we're in the right gap when they change formations. There's 17 different formations that we have counted up. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot for any. There's a lot of teams you don't have to worry about that stuff. Them and Maryville is different, and so we have to line up correctly if we're going to have any kind of success. And they will take advantage if you don't. And really class program, really good kids, like personnel wise, and they know like I want our guys to do. You know your job. You trust your teammates. They do that, and you can tell on film. And I think, their only 2 losses is to Maryville and to West. Mm-hmm. And, West is beat Alcoa. They'll play Maryville later, so they have argument if they may be the best team in the state. And, we talk about records, and you are what you are. That they're 5-2, and their 2 losses is to Maryville and Knox West, which wasn't blowouts. So.
Right. It's a good team. And Coach Courtney, obviously, he's doing something right. Eddie Courtney, if he's been there 27 years, because you don't last 27 years at any high school, especially in 6A football, if you're not doing a lot of things right. What's the key to the success for the Bears this week?
Well, I told Burkhart, our OC, that we've never lost a game we've not outscored somebody. So
they have it, folks.
It's on him.
If we score more points, he guarantees we'll win this game.
That's right. All the little things you talk about every game. Can't turn the ball over. We can't have silly penalties. We've got to win field position on special teams. We've got to execute defensively when they line up. Every defense has weaknesses. We have to take advantage of those. We have to stay above the chain, in front of the chains. It's all the coaches' cliches, but it's true. That's why they're coaches' cliches, because they matter. And then we have to give a relentless effort.
Well, you mentioned special teams. Now, they seem to be kicking away from Jarris Rogers last Friday night. It's kicking short or long, whatever, and he couldn't get a chance to return that. And then we only had 1 punt. That was a 45-yarder by Skylar Perkle. Kickoff returns, Grant's getting the ball down there pretty deep where you want him to, and they're not getting a long return there. So field position, you talked about that. Mm-hmm. It's a key factor in winning games sometimes.
All the time. And now their kicker won't kick it away from Jarris, he'll kick it over his head.
Oh,
He's going to kick it deep in the end zone on kickoff, and then, he can kick field goals from a long way. They've got good special teams, so we've got to, we got to at least match it.
Yeah.
You go in there and you say, win special teams. I don't know if we can win it, because they do kick in the end zone. We don't. That's one advantage. So we've got to match some other things to offset that.
We've seen a lot of good kickers this year. From every team we've played.
In 6A football, man, it is what it is. There's very few weak spots on teams. Even some teams that maybe are not as successful.
Yeah.
I think about the year in the Super 32. Every quarterback we faced was 6'4", and had a cannon and had kickers that kicked in the end zone. And it's a big advantage, especially throughout the season, not only one game. So
yeah, sure is. Well, we can't overstate the importance of this game. Obviously, we're sitting here tied for 3 other teams, four-way tie for first in the region with 1 loss each. If you want to get the championship or finish with a home game, you got to win these next 2 games there. And we got Farragut this week, and then we'll have an road game with at Ray County, then we'll come back with Maryville. But you really can't overstate the importance of this. Updates, the insurance department, you talked about we're going to have J. Allen Terry back this week.
Yes, we'll have him back. I think that's the only one we'll have back. I'm trying to think who else is out.
Everybody seems
it's
to think
been, hopefully Jackson's rehab's going good, so we're expecting him back week 10. But it is what it is. Whoever's in there has got to step up, and the standard is the standard, as Mike Tomlin says. So we'll just go with who we got, and those guys are doing well too. So it is what it is. I'm sure they got guys bumped up and bruised as well. Now they are coming off an off week, so they've had 2 weeks. I don't like that, but
you think they're down here last Friday scouting us, or just watching it on the?
I say so. I mean, unless they just don't care, unless they don't respect us.
I think they care.
So we'll find out. I don't know, but all that stuff doesn't matter once the ball's kicked off. But the best team will win.
And we got homecoming Friday night. I know you guys will be in the dressing room, won't be involved in the homecoming part of that, but it's just another game. But it's a huge, huge game. And folks, the next game is always the biggest game because it is your next game. But this one really, it's the next game, and it is a huge region game at home. We need to win out here if we're going to be there playing at home.
Well, it's like I told the guys yesterday at practice, or Sunday at practice, is this is why you play.
Yeah.
This should be fun. And I don't think there's any pressure. Let's just go out and play. You're going to make mistakes, and they're going to make mistakes, and then you got to execute. And this is it. This is why you play. And this week will it'll determine a lot in the playoffs. For our region this Friday. Yeah,
there's some big games. Everybody's in a region matchup this weekend and all that. So, folks, we encourage you to come out here early. We've got a 7 o'clock kickoff coming up with the game against Farragut. And I'd like to thank you, Coach Floyd, for our weekly show as always. Thanks to LB Appliance for our sponsor here on Talk 101.3. And we'd like to say until next time, God bless and go Bears.